Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Professional Darts Corporation, welcome to finals day of the 2018 Gibraltar Darts Trophy. We begin round 3 and introduce to the stage a 2-time Euro Tour quarter-finalist, a Players' Championship semi-finalist, England's X-Factor, Andy Boulton! We now introduce from the Netherlands, the world #1, the 2-time Gibraltar Darts Trophy champion, the newly crowned Premier League and World Cup of Darts champion. He's the former 2-time champion of the world, mighty Michael van Gerwen!
Only 3 players have won titles on the European Tour this year. All 3 of them are still involved going into the final day of the Gibraltar Darts Trophy. No great surprise that one of the men on the stage, the world #1 Michael van Gerwen, is still with us, although mighty Mike, despite that average of almost 108 in his win over Van der Voort yesterday, really had to dig deep against his good friend, overturning a 4-2 deficit in an eventual 6-4 win. Van Gerwen, champion here on 2 occasions, one of 7 European Tour winners in the field. He's on course not only for a 5th Euro title of 2018, but also a 25th of his stellar career. Up against him, Andy Boulton, who once again has brought a little bit of the X-Factor to the European stage. This is his 3rd appearance on the final day of competition, 2 times a quarter-finalist. He would have to defy match odds of 12-1 or so to make it to the last 8 on the rock this weekend. All set to go then on the final day, 8 third-round matches this afternoon, and from 7:15 the quarters, the semis and the final itself. And alongside me, Rob Malarkey for Van Gerwen against Boulton.
Andy to throw first. Game on.
It's not only George Noble, the referee for this one, but also Dan Dawson.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Rock. 8 games this afternoon, 16 players, and 7 national #1s.
55.
Having said that, we do have some surprise packages, Andy Boulton among them.
120.
Now you have to rely on Michael van Gerwen only using 2 darts per visit if he is to beat MVG for the first time in his career. He did make a joke after beating Stephen Bunting in the 2nd round.
140.
He had a good record against Vincent van der Voort, who played MVG in the 2nd round, put a really good performance, Vincent.
140.
And he was only 1 behind MVG in the head-to-head stats, but then they have only met once.
$139.
Well, if Andy Boulton, I was just going to say, if Andy Boulton does get into position, if he can emulate the finishing he produced yesterday, then he might well have a bit of a chance. 6 from 7 on his doubles against Stephen Bunting in that 6-4 win. The 167 is not going to go.
59, Matthew 196.
And he's had a couple of big checkouts this weekend as well. 1-3-4 against Ed House, a 1-1-6 yesterday for a 3-1 lead.
A You show on the first
But it's
leg,
Van Gerwen who
Michael
draws
Van Gerwen.
first blood on the Boulton throw in this one.
Second leg, Michael to throw first. Game on.
And the Van Gerwen family here once again at the side of the stage watching on.
190.
No doubt watching on with a sense of expectation rather than a sense of hope. Given Van Gerwen's standing in the game and given his dominance on the European tour this year, 4 titles under his belt already. And he's halfway to emulating his tally of 26 titles for a calendar year.
96.
A record he set a couple of years ago. World Cup glory last weekend
100.
took his count to 13 for the year so far.
Well, MVG, 12 data to kick things off.
167.
He's going to have to produce a monster to match it, and he could do, and he might do. Oh, he very nearly has done. There's absolutely no question that MVG was going to go for that. Sometimes you can sort of catch Michael Van Gerwen cold at the start of games. There'll be periods where he's not playing his best stuff, but you know there's going to be a period in a game, more often than not, where he's going to be averaging 120. Maybe 2 or 3 legs. And when he's not doing it, that's when you have to win those legs. And unfortunately, at the minute, for Andy Boulton, Michael Van Gerwen is not having an off period. He started off with 12 and 15 darters.
It was interesting yesterday as well. In that match against Vincent van der Voort, he was averaging 121.93 for the front 9 was Van Gerwen, although he did find himself 4-2 down. Not the highest average of the day yesterday from MVG. Just pipped by Joe Cullen in that particular title race.
99.
But Van Gerwen paid tribute to Van der Voort afterwards. He said that was a Vincent I haven't seen for a long time, and I thought that was a fairly nice way of putting it. It was a very succinct way of putting it as well. It was a very good performance by Vincent van der Voort.
Yeah, we saw similar from Brendan Dolan, didn't we, against Darryl Gurney in that All-Northern Irish clash, and Darryl said very much the same. He said, that's probably the best I've seen Brendan play on a stage for a good couple of years.
55.
Ultimately, both losing causes, both 6-4 defeats. Darryl Gurney, the Grand Prix champions, third up this afternoon against Steve West.
59.
Well, this time Van Gerwen hasn't left to finish after the first 3 visits, so these are the legs that you have to go and win. If you do entertain any hope of seeing off the world #1.
Yeah, that's just opened things up for Van Gerwen once again here. But so far, not able to
90.
fully capitalise.
And you call 148.
Both players down to a finish, both big finishes.
100. Mark, you call 160.
You wouldn't put it past him, would you? You just would not put it past him.
You show on the third leg.
160 check out, the biggest of the weekend. Michael Van Gerwen halfway there.
Michael to throw first. Game on.
Wow. What can you say?
140.
Yeah, 107.5 average in the opening game of his campaign this weekend. Michael Van Gerwen is bettering that right now, and we have seen it already this year. In the final session, he is capable of averaging 110 right the way through.
58.
And he has had a few visits like that as well. Visits without a treble.
59.
Van Gerwen was the odds-on favourite across the board in the outright betting for this tournament going into the final day. 13-8 on or so. Peter Wright, second favourite at 5-1. Rob Cross, the world champion, at 11-2. And James Wade, the only other former champion in the field, at 18-1.
You know what? The first two went in the 57 of Van Gerwen, and I knew he wasn't going to fire in a 171 because he wanted to leave the 170. It was a half-hearted effort. He keeps leaving the 170, Michael Van Gerwen, and he does it just because he likes making big statements. He likes taking that finish out. It's not even the hardest finish in my mind. It's a hard finish, and it's the biggest finish. But you get two in the treble 20. He just loves doing it.
Thought Boulton might have gone to the 19s, being on 265, but he went to the 20s instead.
81, Michael 114. You showing the full flag.
Well, more than a few markers being laid down here by Michael Van Gerwen so far. In the blink of an eye, he's established a 4-0 lead. And Andy Boulton just not able to land any punches whatsoever. Just not getting close.
MVG 12 darter and then a trio of 15 darters. But within those 15 darters, he's missed the ball for a 167. He's taken out a 160 and he's taken out a 114. He's finishing 160, 25, 114, 96.
140.
He's only missed a couple of darts at double. It's just relentless.
57.
And Andy Boulton does not have an answer at the minute. He played some fantastic stuff against Richie Edhouse. He played some really good stuff against Stephen Bunting in the early part of the game.
60.
But this is just too much. 180 sleeve, 164.
140.
Not quite.
And you go 161.
Well, that visit, in keeping with Van Gerwen so far, his third dart average is significantly lower than that of his averages for his first and second dart.
121.
I don't think he'll be too concerned about all of that. Now, Boulton will get a dart at a double for the first time.
140. And you go 40.
How successful he will be remains to be seen. That one's further away. And that one's bang in the middle, and Boulton gets a leg on the board, and little wonder he's puffing out his cheeks. He's working very hard here to just try and keep afloat and keep alive. He's got a leg on the board.
134.
I think that's the youngest member of the Van Gerwen family making an impact.
Well, not only is Andy Boulton 4-1 down to the best player in the world, he's now being heckled
140.
by an infant.
It's all part of the great master plan from Van Gerwen. If things are just going a little awry, if you lose a leg in the opening match of the day, just let
59.
Let the child take over.
To be fair, baby Van Gerwen probably isn't used to seeing her old man lose any form of leg, to be honest.
96.
Quite distressing. Well, another big combination finish to add to the collection, do we think, for MVG?
140.
Even a 180 wouldn't have got Boulton to a finish. 162 would have been a bogey number. Tops, tops. Oh.
91.
Well, Joe Cullen had the highest average of the tournament so far. That was 107.97, very nearly 108. Van Gerwen is ticking along at just over. Oh, no, it's just dropped below the 108 now, but it's been hovering around that 107, 108, 109, 110 for a significant part of this game.
It might just dip slightly here as well, because Andy Boulton is now looking at 116 for a break of throw. Will he get a dart at a double? I suspect he will.
You suspect, right.
And he makes the most of it. Didn't have a dart at a double in the first 4 legs. He's now got 2 legs on the board.
Well, that is the first time that Michael Van Gerwen has thrown 15 darts in a leg and not seen it off. There you see.
42.
That 5th leg ran Andy Boulton through 15. Van Gerwen was on 64 after 12.
100.
Took out the 116 yesterday. He did Boulton against Bunting for a 3-1 lead after a strange start to that match. There were 3 successive breaks of throw, and then that hold of throw for Boulton just enabled him to just take a stranglehold against the bullet.
$45.
Well, he's already surrendered the darts in this leg.
93.
Van Gerwen genuinely feels, and it's, look,
100.
it may come across as arrogance, but it's confidence. He feels that if he gets to certain positions in games, that there is only one winner. He is going to go and win. It's not always worked out. I mean, we've seen him, the famous game against Warren Parry on the World Series, where Warren Parry won five or six legs in a row to win it 6-5 and knock
99.
the world #1 out down under. But the vast majority of times, if Van Gerwen gets into a lead, it is almost impossible to reel him in. It can be done, but it's very, very difficult. And Van Gerwen, when he just feels like that, he's playing in a bubble. And he would have felt that from 4-0 up, it was just a matter of time before I closed this out. Now,
137, Malik 120.
if any complacency does set in, and he does start missing a little bit, like he missed those 3 at tops in the last leg, but he doesn't. Boulton was waiting to strike, and we are back to Michael Van Gerwen finishing legs in 5 visits.
Game on.
Lesson learned there for Michael Van Gerwen. Did not want to get his fingers burned again.
84.
The average is still over 100, well over 100. It's 103 and a bit at the moment.
12 darts to start the game. Every other leg won in 15 darts. It has been neat and tidy stuff.
60.
The old Andy Boulton calisthenic routine. It's regular sight when X Factor's on stage.
83.
83 and 84 for Van Gerwen. Gives Boulton encouragement despite his sluggish start.
140. 140. 100.
Not enough to leave a finish, so 6 darts from 194. Quick look at Andy Boulton's score
89.
there. And if Van Gerwen continues this theme of only needing 5 visits to win legs, then this is going to go, and that'll be 6-2, and he's the first man through to the quarterfinals. The 2-time champion here in Gibraltar may look at the bullseye, or is it the treble 20? No, tops. There's one. And there's the other.
And Michael Van Gerwen returning to type in the closing stages there, just suffering a little bit of a wobble after racing into a 4-0 lead and opening 4 legs in which Andy Boulton didn't even have a dart at a double. But Boulton did register in the end, but then Michael Van Gerwen, despite that 6th leg where he missed darts at double 20, allowing Boulton back in to an extent, was able to just find a little extra in the closing stages and come through fairly comfortably in the end. A 6-2 win then for the 2-time champion here, Michael Van Gerwen. Neat and tidy figures all around as far as he's concerned. And Michael Van Gerwen is the first man through. Johnny Clayton
Michael.
and
Every
Max
single
Top
leg in that
on the way
match won
next.
in 15 darts or fewer. Neat and tidy stuff.
Yeah, you have to. I missed 3 darts to make it, I think, 5-1. That was not a good trip. I think my finishing was good here today, and I need to make sure it's going to get a little bit better later on. But I feel good, and my form is here, and my confidence is here. So yeah, I'm in a good flow. So
You are certainly in a good flow. You're obviously taking a little bit of time off after this tournament. It's important for you to sign off with a 14th title of the year, though, isn't it?
yeah, it will be nice. The 14th. 14 will be good. Of course, any tournament I'm competing, I like to win, wherever it is. If it's in Gibraltar, Germany, or England, doesn't matter. You always need to try to get your goals and what you put your targets on. And I put all the targets on any tournament I'm competing in, and that's also here in Gibraltar. So I have to make sure I also get my confidence later, my form, and then I can do some real damage later on.
Certainly can do some real damage. The world #1, Michael van Gerwen, looking to win this title for a third time. He will take on the winner of our next match. It is the Maximizer and the Ferret, Max Hopp and Johnny Clayton.